The Philadelphia 76ers are rolling right now, off to a historic start this year. And coming up on today's show, we're going to explain how and why Philadelphia has been able to get off to such a tremendous start. Nick Nurse continues to work his magic with this basketball team. Before we get started, though, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 14,000 subscribers, and if you want to stay updated on all things Sixers all year long with free content, the solution for you is very simple. Just hit that subscribe button and lock us in. So I want to break down this historic start on the show here today, because when you put into context and when you really decipher and look at this Sixers season so far and how they've been able to operate and maneuver the way that they've been able to, and the start that they're off to, it really is very impressive what they're doing. In fact, the Philadelphia 76ers, ladies and gentlemen, have the highest point differential since the 1995-96 Bulls through this amount of games up to this point in the regular season. That's how impressive this Sixers start has been, paced by Joel Embiid, who up to this point is the NBA MVP, and Tyrese Maxey, who's still playing at an all-NBA type of level. Highest point differential over the last 30 years. The Chicago Bulls taking the cake there with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman in 95-96. Phil Jackson, obviously, as the head coach. Their point differential, plus 12.24, And then the Sixers this year, plus 11.88. And then you look at some of the other great teams over the course of NBA history, over the last 30 years, of course. You have the 2016-17 Golden State Warriors at 11.63, the 96-97 Bulls behind them, and then the Warriors from 2015-2016 checking in there at 10.76. Except for the Warriors and 2015-2016. They blew that 3-1 lead to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals when Draymond Green hit LeBron James in the nether region. All of these teams have won an NBA championship. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, Philadelphia's not going to win an NBA championship. Chase, you know the history of this organization. They haven't made it past the second round of the playoffs since 2001. Yeah, I know. I was 9 years old then. And I can't get over my love-hate relationship with Philadelphia, partially because of those reasons. But Chase, you're also saying this. Philly is just beating up on bad teams. Isn't that what good teams do? And you know what's really refreshing? Is that the Sixers this year, yeah, they played some bad teams. They are blowing the doors off of those bad teams. When Glenn Rivers was the head coach of this team, you know what the Sixers weren't doing? Blowing out teams, making their lives easier. How often would we watch a Glenn Rivers coach team against a bad team have to have Joel Embiid in the game with a couple of minutes left, and we have heart palpitations, and we're about to have a heart attack because we're thinking that Philadelphia is going to lose it to a team like the Washington Wizards, like the Charlotte Hornets. This year, though, this great team that the Sixers have been are beating up on the bad teams, and Embiid has been able to sit out countless fourth quarters so far this year, whereas with Glenn Rivers, these games would come down to the wire, and they would be ugly victories, whereas now they're dominant victories where sometimes we can go to bed a little bit earlier, and we can go to bed comfortably knowing that Philadelphia won the way that they should be. They're giving them the business, and they're handling business as well. During this 6-game winning streak for the Sixers right now, this offense is averaging almost 132 points per game. They are giving up only 104-plus points per game. So you look at the point differential right here, about 27 points. Pretty damn impressive. They are also shooting 51% from the floor, almost 39% from three. And yes, that point differential, as I noted, 27.4 points. I failed elementary algebra at Temple University, but I'm even able to look at those numbers, and I'm able to come up with the fact that Philadelphia has that point differential of 27-plus points. And I think for the Sixers and this organization, so often they have suffered from a lack of mental confidence. This year, though, they at least have a little bit of that mental confidence. And that's what kind of stands out about this team as compared to previous years. More on this historical start with some historical context here. The Sixers have the best 5-game point differential in NBA history. You think about some of the great players, the great offenses, some of the great systems that we've seen over the course of NBA history. what Philadelphia is doing right now hasn't been seen ever before. So that is something that can be celebrated, and that is something that is worthy of discussion here. Now, of course, as we know with the Sixers, they're going to need to prove it against some good teams. And soon here, coming up around the corner, this schedule is going to start to get a little bit more difficult. But that doesn't take away from what the Sixers have been able to do. And going back to what I said to start the show, Nick Nurse really working his magic. This team just looks different, and it plays different. And there's so much more fun to watch from a basketball sense and basketball standpoint compared to some of these Glen Rivers teams. Winning percentage, they're 4th. Points per game, they're 3rd. Field goal percentage, 6th. 3-point percentage, 6th. Free throw percentage, 2nd. Rebounds per game, 5th. Turnovers, 6th. Steals, 1st. So Nick Nurse is always known for that defensive acumen, but he's also underrated at being a guy who can develop offensive talent and have a good offensive system. The Sixers are getting it done on both ends of the floor. They're 7th in blocks, and that plus-minus 1st in the NBA. I want you to be honest with me. How confident are you that the Sixers can win a championship? I'm not going to go overly confident right now. I'm about in the middle range here just because I'm so scarred throughout my entire life with what has happened with this team. But I want you to let me know down in the comment section on a scale of 1 to 10. More to get to here on the show, but first, 76ers Now is sponsored by Factor. Get 50% off using the code NBAChat50 during this bustling holiday season. We don't have a lot of time to go to the grocery store, to do a lot of meal prepping. And with Factor, they take care of all of that for you. You might be looking for nutritious, flavorful meals to fuel you up on jam-packed days. Well, Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service. They can help you eat well for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with these chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You're going to save time. You're going to stay on track with your healthy lifestyle, all while tackling your holiday to-dos. You can cross meal prepping off your list this holiday season. And that list, it's getting long, ain't it? Skip the meal planning. Grocery shopping, chopping, prepping, and cleaning up, and get Factor's fresh, never frozen meals delivered straight to your door, and they're ready in just 2 minutes. 50% off, limited time only, factormeals.com/NBAChat50. Make sure you use that link so that Factor knows that Chat Sports sent you. As for Joel Embiid, obviously, he is one of the big reasons for the Sixers getting off to this hot start, why they're on this crazy winning streak right now, and how they've been able to dominate opponents, slapping them up and down the court. Embiid is setting franchise records, and he's not even playing in some of these fourth quarters. How about this franchise record here? 9 straight games for the big man of 30-plus points and 10-plus rebounds. You want to talk about consistency? Joel Embiid has been very, very consistent. And it's his two-way ability to protect the rim, to alter shots at the rim, to get out to the arc and affect shots there, for him to run the floor, knock down some threes. The mid-range game is so pure. And then physically down low, he's able to win a lot of battles there as well. Let's hope that he can stay healthy. And let's hope that he stays healthy. And you can help him by typing 2-1 to get the good vibes going here on the show, because I'm always about the good vibes here on 76ers Now. But also congratulate Embiid for what he's been able to do so far this year. He's been the best player in the NBA. Could he win back-to-back MVPs? That's some special stuff right there in special elite air. The Sixers, I think, really, when you think about this overall start and this winning streak right now, credit to Daryl Morey, who obviously signed that contract extension back a couple of days ago in the lead up to the weekend. It was kind of a Friday news dump to a certain degree. The Sixers have been so good, and they've been able to blow teams out because they finally have a complete roster. And that's a credit to the aforementioned Daryl Morey. And when you combine a complete roster with a playing style that maximizes their talent, with a coach who is putting them in positions to succeed, that leads to what we're seeing right now. And after all these years, all it finally took was to have a competent coach, the best Sixers coach that we've seen since Larry Brown in the early 2000s, and a couple of really solid wings, good depth, solid backup center play, solid backup point guard play. This is a team that is a couple of players deep, really all across the board. And when you're playing well, when you have a coach who's maximizing your talent, you're winning games, you're blowing other squads out, what does that lead to? It leads to a better culture. And it leads to really good vibes. And I think the vibes around this team are great. Under Glenn Rivers, there was they won 50 games, but they look really good, but they're beating up on some of these bad teams, but sometimes it seems so arduous and it seems so hard. It's clear that this team right now is relieved to have a new leader, to have a new coach who they believe in from a basketball coaching acumen point of view, more so than Glenn Rivers, and it's clear that these Sixers players love playing for head coach Nick Nurse. Now again, all of this is great. We can talk about this. We can celebrate it. We can be enamored by what the Sixers are doing right now. It's all going to come down to the NBA playoffs. But when you think about some of these numbers, when you think about the depth, when you think about some of the star talent on this team, this is as good of a chance as this Sixers squad has. And when you look at the landscape of the Eastern Conference, this helps as well to make a deep run in the playoffs as they've had in a really long time. I think Boston can be had. I think that Milwaukee can be had. And outside of that, who are you taking for real in the Eastern Conference? The Orlando Magic, who are having a surprise year, 7-game series. I'm liking Philadelphia. Now, I will say, if it's a 3-6 matchup between Philadelphia and Indiana in that first round, Tyrese Halliburton can go off for a couple of games. That worries you a little bit. But finally, again, going back to Nick Nurse, you have a coach who you feel as though, basically night in, night out, you have the coaching advantage with. And we haven't been able to say that with Glenn Rivers, who is too busy blowing all those leads. The Sixers are, let's round out the show with this, O for overrated, U for underrated, or P for properly rated. You let me know down in the chat. We appreciate you for watching the show today.